Hi everyone, welcome once again to Root Access, the show where we answer your tech questions about Apple computers. And to do that, we have our very own genius here, Jamie DeGrazio. Let's jump in.
Okay, so we have a story that was handed to us from our TDL news department.
From the news department.
Breaking news, I guess, where, we're not going to paraphrase the story. There is a customer who spilled some liquid on his MacBook, and then he wrote a letter to Steve Jobs. Allegedly.
Yes, there'll be a lot of allegedlys in this story.
Just discussing how when he called AppleCare, they quoted him a $300 price to get the MacBook repaired, but the price they quoted him was like, it might end up being more. They weren't going to guarantee the work. It seemed like there was some miscommunication between him and the AppleCare agent. So we were just going to kind of clear up how accidental repairs are handled with Apple.
Okay, so let's take this example. I know in the store we would occasionally get something like, I know there was it seems to be alcoholic beverages a lot of times end up in the computer. I'm not sure what's going on there. But let's say someone brings in a laptop. It's got damage, we'll say, from liquid. First of all, I suppose the first tip would be to fess up to it. I mean, because you know pretty quickly.
Sure. Well, sometimes people would come in with their notebook and just say it's not working. I don't know. I just turned it on today. It wouldn't work. And we would check it in because sometimes you couldn't tell there was liquid damage. And usually, if you open something up, I mean, it's pretty evident. So
one quick tip would be, I know sometimes you could smell what was in it.
Yeah. I mean, we've had people spill like gin and tonics, and for the most part, people were honest. But every once in a while, you'd get somebody who is trying to pull one over on you, and really they're just wasting everybody's time because we'll eventually discover that it's liquid damage, and then we'll just have to call and requote them. And so you might as well just fess up.
Okay.
But the way accidental damage was handled is, I guess it might be handled different depending on the store, but at least in our store, if it was, we would try to do as much work as we could in-house. So, because we would save the customer money. When computers are sent to the depot repair and they're accidental damage, they're charged a flat fee. So if it was just like a dent in a case or something like that, we could repair it in a store for the customer a lot cheaper than it would if we sent it to the repair depot.
Now, when you're talking about that flat fee, is that one of those fees where it's almost as much as a new computer to kind of encourage you to just go with a new computer, or is it a reasonable rate relative to the cost of the computer?
Well, it was a tiered system, so for example, like tier 3 included like the screen or the logic board, in which case it might make sense just to purchase a new computer. I mean, liquid damages were the ones that added up the most because it could be multiple parts. So in those cases, for the most part, we wouldn't do them in-house. We would send them to the repair center. Where, like you said, it gets expensive. You might as well get a new computer. I mean, unless you had just purchased like a brand new MacBook and you spilled water on it like that day or that week. If the computer's a year old, it makes sense to get a new computer.
Okay.
But going back to the news story, what I think there was just miscommunication because what either he was told by the AppleCare agent or he relayed to Steve Jobs in that email didn't seem right. Apple doesn't charge you like a $300 fee just to look at the computer and then requote you later. That doesn't really happen.
So how does it work? I mean, let's step back and say I just bring in a computer, I'm having an issue, I come to the bar. What will happen before I'm going to pay any money?
Well, the genius at the bar is, based on what you tell him and what he can see visibly and, determine whether the computer powers on. He's going to determine exactly the extent of the damage and what parts are needed and whether it's economical for the repair to be done in-house for you or if it's cheaper for it to be sent out or if it's beyond serviceable. If it's run over by your car, it's just not going to happen,
There is a point at which it gets very expensive.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Replace every single component. And what about with, say, an iPod?
Well, iPods, that's something that Apple doesn't really repair. iPods and iPhones are, whole replacements. So if you drop your iPod in the toilet, you're just going to have to buy another one. We're not going to repair it. I mean, somebody out there may on the web, but
I do remember there was a time, and again, that was one of those situations where there was a flat fee, but the new iPod would be like $299, and the fee would be
that is correct. Yeah, you could get an out-of-warranty replacement, but it almost didn't make sense. It was like $50 less than buying a new iPod. So.
And I know for a while, I don't know if you can still do this, but you could recycle your iPod for 10% off.
I think they're still doing that, yep.
Interesting. I also see some third-party people out there do flat fee repairs on older iPods now. Micro Center, which is a regional computer retailer that has computer, I think it's $125. You can take in anything from a Generation 1 iPod.
Really? Okay.
And they fix it. But I think they might just be swapping it out depending on which model it is.
Yeah, and plus you really want to be careful in terms of what kind of warranty they're going to give you on the repair. If it's, anything less than 90 days, I would be a little leery about doing that.
So you bring in the computer with water damage. Let's go back to that for a moment. It's not like taking a car to the shop, I suppose, where generally there's a fee just to look at it and figure out what's going on. I mean, there is that diagnostic fee.
Yeah, I mean, Apple, at least when I was there, did have, I think it was $75 diagnostic fee. That was something that really wasn't enforced much, at least not at our stores. We would re-quote the customer, and usually if they decide not to go with the repair, we would just ask them to come pick up their computer, and that would be that. Okay.
So I guess it also could maybe it was there more as a selling tool, because if the repair is $130 and you say, or I'm going to have to charge you $65 for looking at it. But generally, as I recall, I can't really remember a time when that was charged in our particular.
Yeah, I don't ever remember actually anyone getting charged for that.
Okay. All right. So don't forget, here are the tips. 1, be honest.
Be honest, yep.
2, bring your checkbook.
Yep, and I guess be prepared to maybe buy a new computer if it's something like water damage or, drop down a flight of stairs.
But at the same time, be prepared to pay, but you shouldn't have to pay to at least have them take a quick look at it and see what was going on. Okay, we'll be back with more Root Access in just a few minutes.